Greetings. Lovely sunny day here in the UK. The sun. Of course, without the sun, we would not have plant life and no food. So it's beneficial. But when you read the Bible, the sun, which rises in the east, has a more prophetic significance. It's interesting when you look at what's going on in Christendom, how people are leaving religious organizations by the droves. Recently in Australia, a church which harboured a paedophile priest was torched, and then 2 others were torched after it. Interesting. A precursor of what is to come. You see, in Revelation, there's a very interesting scripture in chapter 16 and verse 12. The 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up. The river Euphrates, where Babylon sat. And when you examine the doctrines of religion, they all stem from Babylon. It takes an honest-hearted person to really sit back and analyze what they're being taught in the building they attend. And if you're honest, you'll come to realize that Christendom is contaminated with Babylonish Euphrates River doctrines and, moreover, customs. But you've got to be honest to analyze it. It speaks there about the waters being dried up. The support for religion is drying up, undoubtedly. Maybe not in your particular place of worship, but on a global scale, most certainly. It's interesting that this chapter, Revelation 16, precedes the great chapters 17 and 18, talking about the fall of Babylon the Great, which is a kingdom over the kings of the earth, described as a whore, responsible for all the bloodshed on the earth. From the east, you see, Ezekiel was given a vision of the elders in Jerusalem bowing down to the east, their backs turned away from the temple. And so the Father said, right, if that's what you want, I'll send you from the east a discipliner. That was the nation of Babylon. He took them into captivity. If that's what you want, that's who you're going to serve. A mighty lesson the Jews learnt. If it can happen to Israel and the elders, it can happen to us today. To be deceived by these spewings, these Euphrates River spewings that contaminate truth. Don't underestimate Satan. He's been around a lot longer than you and I have. He's studied mankind now for 6,000 years. He knows us. And he knows what tactics worked in the past. And he's having great success, because we're told in 1 John 5:19, isn't it, that the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. Isn't it interesting too when you read Matthew 2? A star appeared in the east, and these astrologers, called wise men, but they were astrologers, journeyed, because they said, where is this one born to be king? We have seen his star in the east. Do you think the God of Israel would have put a marker saying, here's my son, to astrologers? Don't forget, when the shepherds had the visitation from the angels said, "This will be the sign for you." This was 2 years previously. Not a star, but the babe lying in a manger. So I believe Satan put that marker so Herod could find out where the Messiah was. From the east. Satan has great powers. Look at what he did in Job's day. He caused a wind to destroy Job's livelihood, didn't he? He has great powers, being the God of this age. So we have to ask ourselves, are we contaminated by Babylonish Eastern doctrines? It's quite interesting when you examine, for example, let's take an illustration, the rosary beads that the Catholic use. You find that in Eastern religions as well. Is it Buddhism? Not by coincidence, because the father of falsehood and lies is one, Satan. Just bear with me, just looking up something here. You see, interesting also, when you look at Isaiah, the father raised up a Persian named Cyrus, who came from the east. And the father referred to this man as his anointed, chosen one, to release the Jews from Babylon. I'll come back to that in a minute. From the east. Yes, I'm just checking something here. And bear with me a minute. Yeah. Just bear with me, I'm just checking something here. It's just come to my mind. No, forget that point. So the question is, who is the greatest Cyrus? Who's going to free his people from bondage to the greater Babylon? We'll go back to Revelation 16. We looked at verse 12, wasn't it? I'm not saying this video is correct, it's just things I've been meditating on today. And we looked at Revelation 16 and verse 12. And the angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and it was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So could it be the true kings, that's the Son and the Father, will come and rescue his people trapped in religions? Revelation 18 verse 4 says, "Get out of her, my people." Modern day Babylon. So we have to analyze, are we part of any religion that's contaminated with doctrines from the east, from Babylon? Beautiful scripture in Malachi to end this video, the last book of the Hebrew scripture before Matthew, Malachi, and it's in the last chapter, and 4 verse 2 of Malachi. "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness," S-U-N, interestingly, "arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall." As one translation says, you'll go and paw the ground like fatted calves. You ever seen calves in the field leaping around? Beautiful sight. The Son of Righteousness. And the ancients of Jews believed that referred to the coming Messiah, interestingly. The true Son. So the question is, are we looking at the false Son with its seemingly brilliant light, like moths who get zapped when they go to a light? Or are we looking at the true Son the Son of God, who says, "Come to me, all you are burdened down. Come into partnership with me. Take my yoke upon you and have healing." It's a good question, isn't it? Because the devil has set up these traps which reflect not truth, but the false light of the one called Lucifer. Shalom.